I don't know about you, but this one might be my favorite censorship story because now they're censoring literal efficiency of government function because the efficiency is offensive. It's like the government has to fail. No, to be serious, it's actually the scariest. One of them, Twitter briefly suspends CBP Commissioner Mark Morgan after he touts success of border wall. Report comes one day after Twitter CEO struggled to name a liberal his company has censored. Wow, really? I missed that one. Check it out. CBP Commissioner touts the success of the border wall, a government function people voted for, cheered for, and wanted to happen. And so he's suspended for it. Now, this is really scary. It's funny in how absurd it is, but it's scary because Twitter's rules are now superseding the will of the people and the functions of our government. The story from Fox News says, Twitter briefly suspended the account of U.S. Customs and Border Protection Commissioner Mark Morgan on Wednesday after he touted the success of the wall along the southern border. We took enforcement action on the tweet, but the decision was reversed following an appeal by the account owner and further evaluation by our team. The Federalist first reported that Morgan's account was suspended, citing screenshots shared exclusively with the organization that indicated Twitter temporarily locked Morgan's account for violating its hateful conduct policy by tweeting that the border wall helps stop gang members, murderers, predators, and drugs from entering the United States. It objectively does. It's fact. Walls work, Morgan wrote, according to the screenshots. You may not promote violence against, threaten, or harass other people. Oh, no. On the basis of race, ethnicity, national origin, orientation, gender, identity, religious affiliation, age, disability, or serious disease, Twitter initially told Morgan. In recent weeks, the commissioner had been free to publish content on the site touting the accomplishments of border agents keeping America safe. It's not clear what has recently changed in Twitter's algorithm or policing that resulted in the post's shutdown of his account when other similar posts went unblocked. Federalist reporter Tristan Justice wrote, as of Thursday afternoon, Morgan's account was unlocked. All account holders have access to a dedicated appeals process, and Morgan's account was unlocked when he appealed the decision. Earlier today, I believe it was the former Prime Minister of Malaysia, tweeted that Muslims have a right to end life because of the thousands of years of history of oppression. Twitter put a sensitive label on it and allowed it to remain. Now, there's an interesting question here. I actually think this one's tough, but I think we want to err on the side of let him say it. The issue is he's telling people they're justified in killing them. It borders on it's not really incitement, but man, does it get close. Instilling that idea in people, you are justified in doing this, getting close. They put a flag on it. Public interest. It was a former, verified politician, world leader. Okay, maybe we should know. But a lot of people pointed out that this gets like a flag while others get banned outright. And it's kind of hilarious. But I tell you what, man, the reason why I err on the side of allowing that kind of stuff to remain is that Donald Trump also saber rattled. I think Jack Dorsey was asked about saber rattling and he said, when world leaders saber rattle, we allow it. Trump says stuff like, we will use the might of the U.S. military against our opponents. And he's like, that's something they do. It's called saber rattle, waving the sword around. I think it's important that world leaders do, and politicians are allowed to speak. And that brings me to, I guess, Laura Loomer. Now, she was banned, then she ran. Okay, reinstate her account. Public right to know, right? Twitter said no. Hypocrites. Laura Loomer never called for violence, as far as I know. She was banned for insulting a class of people. Oh, she was banned because she criticized Ilhan Omar and Sharia law. She didn't call for violence like this guy did. And she actually won a Republican primary. And the craziest thing is Trump probably voted for her. She should be reinstated. The public has a right to know. It is in the public interest. We see what Laura Loomer is saying. I mean, dude, she's running for office. She won the primary. She might actually win. It's like a D plus 20 something district. No, I think it's like D plus 13. But don't you think it's extremely important if you think she's a bad person that I get to hear what she's saying, that she can speak so we can know? Instead, they sweep it under the rug. I tell you, man, It's a crazy world that we live in, isn't it? They say, quote, if you look at the tweet in question again, every mile helps us stop gang members, murderers, and pedophiles from entering our country. It's just a fact, Morgan told The Federalist. I'm sure somebody on that Twitter team has heard that everyone that illegally enters are just good people looking for a better way of life. American people ultimately don't get to hear the truth because someone at Twitter, based on their own ideology, pushed a button to prevent the truth from coming out. On Wednesday, Ted Cruz ripped into Twitter CEO during a hearing, accusing him of, censorship. I read that story the other day. The exchange came as Republicans over the last several weeks have decried Twitter's actions to lock the New York Post Twitter account. I want to show you something. I want to show you something that, I think this is important. There's a Twitter thread from Ben Shapiro. He said, COVID is more dangerous than the flu, but not for young people. So wear a mask and social distance. COVID does not justify treating COVID like airborne Ebola, confining entire healthy populations to their homes, or unleashing the authorities to break up family gatherings. We have all gone insane. The latest CDC estimates of infection fatality rate by age. Oh, man. Okay. For people under 19, it's 0.00003. 20 to 49 is 0.0002. For those 50 to 69, it's 0.005. And for those 70 years or older, it's 0.054. The reason I highlight this in the context of censorship is because, Ben risks getting suspended for daring say things like this. They have nuked entire channels on YouTube for talking about this stuff. But the news is telling us, the science is telling us the truth. Twitter suspended CBP for telling us the truth. You see where this goes? The Border Patrol is correct. Border protections. People who cross this border are all not just good people. Drug smugglers, human traffickers, being stopped, violent murderers. Not every person crossing is a violent murderer or a rapist or whatever, but they do cross. And we don't want random people wandering through the desert either. But CBP didn't say all people. He pointed out we've stopped the bad ones. And so Twitter and its employees censored the information. What this is doing is creating mass hysteria. I've talked about it before, but this is a great example here with the CDC and what Ben Shapiro is saying. If we're only allowed to say everybody hide and wear a mask, then we're only ever going to get news that moves in that direction. If you're never allowed to offer up a counter narrative because you will get banned, then we will be driven insane until we collapse. Ben Shapiro said, by the way, to translate those numbers, this means that someone, and look at this, 20 to 49 years old, 2 deaths per 10,000 infections. Wow. That means the survival rate for people under 19 is 99.997. For 20 to 49 is 99.98. 50 to 69 is 99.5%. And for those above 70, it's 94.6%. Wow. People over 70 have a 95% chance, rounding up, of survival. Why have we shut down everything? Censorship plays a role in shaping our society and civilization. By allowing some speech and banning others, you are shaping things in very specific directions. You can't control the flow of ideas. They call it the marketplace of ideas. It's the idea economy. Good ideas are traded and replicated and passed along. What we are seeing is effectively communist idea marketplaces, where centralized authorities try to dictate which ideas are allowed to spread and which aren't. I believe regulation is okay. We regulate speech. Don't incite to violence. Okay. And I mean, for the most part, that's it. Don't encourage or explain violent or illegal activities. That's the regulation we put on speech for the most part. Well, right now, we're not getting that. We're getting more of a communist, centralized command marketplace of ideas. It's not really a marketplace. It's like you got the idea economy and the idea command economy. Command economy basically means individuals control what goods can be produced and purchased and shipped and where they go. It's centralization. It doesn't work because one person can't accurately calculate all of that information. That's why capitalism does work and pulls people out of poverty. Hence, what we're seeing now with the big tech companies is essentially a kind of communism where they're saying, these are the ideas you're allowed. These are the ideas you're not allowed. So what happens when they push up bad ideas? It destroys the fabric of society, and more people end up dying. Surprise, surprise. That's why we should have a not necessarily a laissez-faire idea marketplace, but a mostly free marketplace of ideas. And like I said, mostly is because we put regulation on it. Don't go out and say, here's how you do X and go do it to person Y. You can't do that. Okay, that's the limit. Some people are absolutists and they argue against it, saying, no, I should be able to say it because saying it isn't the action. And you know what? Fair point. Fair point. But I'm okay with saying don't incite people to violence. Don't teach people how to commit crimes or encourage them to do so. This, however, was just too funny to pass up. Our government saying, here's what we're doing right, and then being like banned. It's funny, but it is kind of scary, isn't it? That they would ban the Twitter already froze a link to house.gov. That's crazy. Now these people lost their minds. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all then.